Okay, guys. I think I had mentioned a while back that I was going to do a video about this, but some new information has come to light, and I feel like it needs to be addressed really quickly. Um, David Benjamin just mentioned in a video he did a little while ago that YouTube is talking about shutting down extremist channels. There's a lot of channels that are borderline violating YouTube content, and the first time you sign on their user agreement, you openly admit by signing that you submit to any and all changes that come in the future. So they can make changes to the user agreement and never say nothing to you. There's a very important reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm going to share that with you in just a minute because it affects every single one of us, especially us with Christian YouTube channels. um, how extremism came to thrive on YouTube. And it's an article by Alex Castro from The Verge. And he talks about how YouTube came to pass. The same thing happened on Facebook. We have a lot of problems with fake news being propagated, a lot of people spreading it around and helping it spread. We have a lot of, there for a while, there was some really bad videos coming out on YouTube that they had to suppress. But there was a lot of fighting with free speech. You're violating my free speech rights, stuff like that. Well, the only people that don't get, I was going to say don't get affected, but it's not it, that don't get the same treatment as everyone else are the Christians. Um, we even share a part of a song that somebody had sang, and I'm nonprofit and activism, and I still get hit with a copyright warning. Um, I'm not making any money on it. I'm just sharing part of a song, but we get the bigger end of the stick than most other people do. YouTube has gone through a lot of changes. You guys remember all the different changes. They're marking different things. They've got ghost accounts where they sub to your channel in order to keep track of what you're doing in case you try to go incognito or whatever. They've got a bunch or make your videos private. They've got a whole bunch of where they've gone through and they've made adjustments to our channels to put trackers in our content. Mine just happened to mine. That's why they had it down and messed up with a bunch of stuff. And a bunch of other channels have already gotten hit. They come up with stuff that we've done that we didn't do put on our channels and try to strike us for that. Some of us get hit more than others. Mainly it's people with over 10,000 subs. Um, Tim Henderson, a bunch of his videos were affected. David Benjamin, a bunch of his were affected. There's a lot of us are starting to get hit quite often with this stuff. YouTube is making a concerted effort this year to try to block or shut down extremist pages that have extreme content. What constitutes extreme content? That has not been fully explained yet. Here's the reason why this is important and why this affects every single one of us. Do you guys remember HR 5? I had mentioned HR 5. I also mentioned it in my church and other people I know. HR 5 is referred to as the Equality Act. It's very big and it's very far reaching. It covers a lot of stuff, but there's a core element in there. And within that, one of those amendments to it say that Christians won't, they've already passed it up in Canada. Christians won't be able to preach about Christianity, namely against homosexuality, in public. They can only do it within the walls of a church. This is going to cause churches to be licensed. They do this in China, and it worked out very badly for Christians. I wanted to read you a little bit on the face page of HR 5. It currently has passed the House and is in the Senate right now. Text HR 5, 116th Congress, 2019-2020. In the Senate of the United States, May 20th, 2019, received, read twice, and referred to the Committee on the Judiciary, an act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex, gender, identity, and sexual orientation, and for other purposes. I love how they put a general statement in there, but then when you dig into it, you find out what these general statements are. And it usually is against people like us. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Section 1 short title, this act may be cited as the Equality Act. Section 2, findings and purpose. Findings. Congress finds the following. 1. Discrimination can occur on the basis of the sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or pregnancy, childbirth, or a related medical condition of an individual, as well as because of sex-based stereotypes. Each of these factors also can serve as the basis for discrimination, and each is a form of sexual discrimination. If this is passed, you will not be able to make the mistake of calling a man who's dressed like a woman sir. It will now become punishable as discrimination. Possibly fines, possibly jail time, most likely jail time. And then the other person will be able to sue you, or vice versa, if you refer to someone as ma'am and they're actually a guy. This happens a lot because everybody makes up these pronouns they want to be referred to as, but nobody wears a sign or a t-shirt that says, please refer to me as this pronoun. And we see the person and assume that by sight, this is the gender we're talking to, and refer to them as such, and then they get offended. You created the problem. How are we supposed to know unless you give us what I'm not going to stand there and recite the alphabet plus a few other acronyms to try to cover all the genders that the people have invented. There's over 67. No, actually, I think there's over 100 now. It's impossible. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be spending time in jail. But this is where this is going to end up. How does this affect Christians? We preach from the Bible that homosexuality is adultery. It's wrong. You have to turn away from those sins. And a lot of these other things like this, inventing a gender identity because you're no good at sports, so you want to be a girl and go play in girl sports so you can win one. Well, that doesn't work in real life. And this is all going to come to a screeching halt here before long anyway. But this will affect us, and they will shut down our channels where we talk about that this is an improper way to live and this is wrong. And we don't hate these people. We love them. We want them to come to salvation. And we want them to walk away from those sins, just like we try to walk away from our sins. But they're going to take it as discrimination. 2. A single instance of discrimination may have more than one basis. For example, discrimination against a married same-sex couple could be based on the sex stereotype that marriage should only be between heterosexual couples. Do you already see where this is going? The sexual orientation of the two individuals in the couple, or both. Discrimination against a pregnant lesbian could be based on her sex, her sexual orientation, her pregnancy, or on the basis of multiple factors. You literally won't be able to go up and say, when are you due? Or anything. You probably won't even be able to look at them because they're going to take that as discrimination. This is literally tipping the snowball down a hill of snow. And it'll get huge by the time it hits the bottom. 3. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, referred to as LGBTQ, people. I didn't say this. I didn't read this up. This is what's in the actual HR 5. I will link the post on congress.gov to the video so you can read it yourself. I am not making these words up. They are in this bill. People commonly experience discrimination in securing access to public accommodations. No, they cry about having their own bathroom when people give them unisex bathrooms, including restaurants, senior centers, stores, places of or establishments that provide entertainment, healthcare, facilities, shelters, government offices, youth service providers, including adoption and foster care providers, and transportation. Forms of discrimination include the exclusion and denial of entry, unequal or unfair treatment, harassment, and violence. This discrimination prevents the full participation of LGBTQ people in society and disrupts the free flow of commerce. Then why do you guys get a parade and we can't? Christians are not allowed to have their own parade. Tell me again how you are being oppressed. Women also have faced discrimination in many establishments, such as stores and restaurants, and places or establishments that provide other goods or services, such as entertainment or transportation, including sexual harassment, differential pricing for differential pricing for substantially similar products and services, and denial of services because they are pregnant or breastfeeding. Y'all stuff costs more money to make because you want it special. We just wear whatever. This is going to go way downhill. Hopefully they have enough sense not to pass it. Many employers already and continue to take proactive steps beyond those required. This is number 5. Beyond those required by some states and localities to ensure they are fostering positive and respectful cultures for all employees. Many places of public accommodation also recognize the economic imperative to other goods and services to as many consumers as possible. 6. Regular and ongoing discrimination against LGBTQ people as well as women in accessing public accommodations contributes to negative social and economic outcomes, and in the case of public accommodations operated by state and local governments, abridges individuals' constitutional rights. To what? The bathroom? I don't see where there's a problem. You don't need a special bathroom for gay people. You have unisex bathrooms, everybody's covered. Simple. The logistics of this are ridiculous because now they're being childish. The discredited practice known as conversion therapy is a form of discrimination that harms LGBTQ people by undermining individuals' sense of self-worth, increasing suicide ideation and substance abuse, exacerbating family conflicts, and contributing to second-class status. Why is them choosing to do drugs and commit suicide anyone else's fault? They chose to do it. You don't, it's not the other guy that makes you use your phone and cause you to have a car wreck. You chose to use your phone and had a car wreck. You choose to have the emotional response you're going to have. You choose to be offended. You don't have to be offended. You can turn around and walk away and ignore what some idiot is saying. You guys see where this is headed? This is bad. This is very bad. 8. Both LGBTQ. You ought to hear this. I'm reading HR 5 and some of the subheadings. It's bad. It's stupid. 8. Both LGBTQ people and women face widespread discrimination in employment and various services, including by entities that receive federal financial assistance. They want welfare. Such discrimination, A, is particularly troubling and inappropriate for programs and services funded wholly or in part by the federal government. B, undermines national progress toward equal treatment regardless of sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And C, is inconsistent with the constitutional principle of equal protection under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your supposed gender is. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care what color underwear you wear. If you can do your job, you're hired. If you can't do your job, you're fired. Anything else about you makes no difference to me. And that's most employers. Now, I get it. There are some that turn that around and use it to their advantage. But most employers are like, as long as you can do your job and you're good with customers and you can interact with people, you're hired. As long as you can do your job and do it effectively, you're hired. I don't care anything else about you. People take these issues and turn them into issues in order to get special preferential treatment. It's wrong and it's not going to work. 9. Federal courts have widely recognized that in enacting the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Congress validly invoked its powers under the 14th Amendment to provide a full range of remedies in response to persistent, widespread, and pervasive discrimination by both private and government actors. 10. Discrimination by state and local governments on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity in employment, housing, and public accommodations, and in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. In many circumstances, such discrimination also violates other constitutional rights, such as those of liberty and privacy under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. 11. Individuals who are LGBTQ or are perceived to be LGBTQ, which means you look at them and think they are, have been subjected to a history and pattern of persistent, widespread, and pervasive discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity by both private sector and federal, state, and local government actors, including in employment, housing, and public accommodations, and in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. An explicit and comprehensive national solution is needed to address such discrimination, which has sometimes resulted in violence or death. On whose side? Because I see a whole lot of homosexuals killing a whole lot of regular people, including the full range of remedies available under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And it just goes on, saying the same thing over and over and over again. Basis of sex, basis of what sex you think you are, basis of what sex you want to be. Sounds to me like some people need to grow up because they're complaining. A lot of it is referencing housing and and government programs. So they want welfare because they're gay or transitioning. Let's see. I'm trying to find something that says something different because it all says the same thing. 17. Numerous studies demonstrate that LGBTQ people, especially transgender people and women, are economically disadvantaged and at a higher risk for poverty compared with other groups of people. For example, older women in same sex couples have twice the poverty rate of older different sex couples. Wrong. Me and my wife are heterosexual married couple, have been for 26 years, and we do way worse than any of the gay people we've ever known in our lives. Way worse. Dumb. So they're crying because they want government help, basically. This video will probably get taken down because I'm putting this up, but I don't care. It needs to be done. Public accommodations, the rule of construction. Um, Desecration of public facilities, desecration of public education, federal funding, employment, rules of construction, rules of construction and claims, rules of construction and claims, rules of construction and claims, intervention, miscellaneous. This is the one I was looking for. Definitions and rules, race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender, identity, national origin. The term race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, or national origin used with respect to an individual includes A. The race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity or national origin, respectively, of another person with whom the individual is associated or has been associated, and B. A perception or belief, even if inaccurate, concerning the race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, or national origin, respectively, of the individual. So they said the same thing 3 times. 2. Gender identity. The term gender identity means the gender-related identity, appearance, mannerisms, or other gender-related characteristics of an individual, regardless of the individual's designated sex at birth. Notice I said designated sex. If you're born a girl, you're a girl. If you're born a boy, you're a boy. Done. 3, including. The term including. Including. The term including means including. But the term including means including, but not limited to, consistent with the term standard in federal law. I'm sorry. That struck me as funny. To me, that literally did not need to be said. Sex. The term sex includes A. A sex stereotype. B. Pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical condition. C. Sexual orientation or gender identity. And D. Sex characteristics, including intersex traits. 5. Sexual orientation. The term sexual orientation means homosexuality, heterosexuality, or bisexuality. B. Rules in a covered title referred to in subsection A. 1. With respect to sex, pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions shall not receive less favorable treatment than other physical conditions. And 2. With respect to gender identity, an individual shall not be denied access to a shared facility, including a restroom, a locker room, a dressing room, that is in accordance with the individual's gender identity. Did you see what they just did here? They now are going to allow men who, remember how they did this before? And a bunch of perverts ended up in the bedrooms and a bunch of them got beat and shot. Guys who identify as women can go into the women's restroom. If you have young daughters, perverts will do this so they can go in there. There was I don't know if it even made mainstream media, there was a rash of guys who were dressing up like women, full beard, going into the ladies' restroom because they saw a bunch of girls go in there. One dad beat a guy almost to death because of it. Because when he went in there, he caught the guy cornering his daughter with his thing out in his hand. So What do you think is going to happen when they make it law? Now you have to go in the bathroom with your kids. You can't let them go into a public bathroom anymore because there's going to be perverts and they're waiting for them. And they're allowing it to happen by law. This is probably inadvertently going to allow, um, pedophiles to do what they want to do by law, which they tried to do a couple years ago. Seriously, I'm going to give you guys a link to this so y'all can read it in its entirety. There's a lot of information here, and it's a lot of stupid stuff.
Just goes to show just how little of the actual situation is known to.
Yeah, it's just the stuff they have here. Anyway, it's a mess. But we see what they're trying to do. So they're trying to force their agendas on everyone else, and they're trying to do it under discrimination. Well, we know what discrimination is. That's hatred towards anybody different than you. That's discrimination, whether it's by race, sex, orientation, whatever, age. You can discriminate against children. But what they're trying to do now is they're trying to make it so you can't say anything that goes against what somebody else. Like if you actually, a man is transitioning to be a woman, you accidentally refer to him as sir because he doesn't quite look like a woman, he looks like a man. And that person, by this law now, is going to be able to take you to court over this. And it's going to be listed and charged under discrimination when you accidentally. I mean, the guy can have a full beard but be wearing a dress. Hey, how's it going, sir? What can I do for you? And he gets offended and decides to go push the issue. This H.R. 5 will allow them to do that, and you can be punished under penalty of law. If a same-sex couple comes to rent an apartment from you in your apartment building, you look up their history, and their history is bad. They leave apartments destroyed, messed up. You deny them to rent one because of their history. They go and they file discrimination charges against you. They come back and say, no, you either have to rent them to them or you're going to go to jail. They're going to force you to do it. Regardless of what they did, this is going to protect them to do what they want. If somebody comes up and starts to hit you or assault you, that is LGBTQ or otherwise involved in this H.R. 5, you will not, by law, be allowed to retaliate or defend yourself. Because as soon as you raise a hand against them, that's going to be considered discrimination and a hate crime, even though you were defending yourself. The snowball effect of this the ramifications are going to be horrible. But we know what time we're in. We know what part of history we're at, and that is the end. This is a natural progression of hatred, of selfishness, self-entitlement, childish behavior and mannerisms and mentalities. They want what they want to make themselves happy. To them, the truth doesn't exist. It's their truth, and only their truth matters to them. Nobody else's truth. Unless you're gay, then they'll accept what your truth is, as long as it matches closely to what their truth is. The truth makes no difference anymore. The truth doesn't exist. The truth, which is what we share, is going to be made illegal. It's happening right before our eyes. Check the link out, read it for yourself, dig into its finer parts, because there's a lot of information on this. You can click on the little icons and check all the little intricacies about this thing. Because you're probably going to find something in there that's going to really shock you and catch you off guard. But this has been slipped in and nobody said nothing. And it's already past 1. So yeah, it's already passed the House. So this is probably going to get pushed through. Anyway, guys, just want to bring that up. I want to let you guys know, as that starts to push through, we're probably going to start to see our channels get affected heavily. They're going to pick certain videos and delete them, because there's people that work for YouTube. Their sole job is to watch other people's videos. And they usually put 2 or 3 on each channel and watch the videos, see what happens. And if there's something that's derogatory that they don't like or just they don't want out there, they put a stop to it. They'll show terrorists cutting people's heads off, but they don't want a Christian to say, yeah, homosexuality is the sin of adultery. I don't get it. So anyway, but it's a sign of the times. We know this. We know this is supposed to happen. But just so for your guys' warning and for your FYI to get you prepared, And so you're tracking what's going on. This is now currently moving, and we're probably going to start seeing it happening. I wouldn't doubt. Well, I've already seen some YouTube channels go. We're probably going to see some more go. People that we know, people, the videos we've been watching. So don't be surprised if somebody's channel suddenly gets shut down. I love you guys. I bless you all in Jesus' name, and I'll see you in the next one.